Hey everyone, Matron here, bringing you another StarCraft 2 commentary, this time Game 3 of the Best of 5 series between Catz spawning as the yellow Zerg, and his opponent will be PPG Bubbles spawning as the blue Protoss. Again, this is going to be the Justin TV Invitational. This is actually the finals, and right now we are tied up one game apiece. Bubbles taking the last game on Steps of War, Catz opening up with a very early pool, and that's something we often see from Catz. He's really a non-traditional player in every sense of the word, or the counter word that would be, in that he doesn't really go for the norm in a lot of these games, and on Steps of War especially, always goes for something a little bit different. And I think he probably has it in his head that he does not have an advantage on Steps of War. Zerg players a lot of times complain about the close rush distance, as we see the two players spawning all Lost Temple here. So Catz going for a really kind of a crazy build a lot of the times, early pools, early expansions on the gold, sometimes some drone rushes. So Bubbles able to fend it off, getting a very defensive position on the bottom of his ramp with a cannon, as Catz sees the position here, pulling back, and Bubbles looks like going to be sending a scout out after this gateway going down. So a 13 gateway going down. Does not pull a probe to actually look for this Overlord. If you pull a probe up here, you can see the Overlord as it comes in. So instead, he will be scouting the bottom position first. So it looks like he may be getting to Catz last. Catz, 15 drones right now. Looks like he will be getting down a hatchery. So you wonder if PPG Bubbles had scouted the Overlord positioning there a little bit earlier, if he could have gotten to the northern position and perhaps delayed this hatchery. But for now, Catz is going to be able to get up a macro game, getting up an extractor even before the pool goes down. So maybe trying to get out speedlings as quickly as possible. We'll see how soon he gets a pool down. A lot of times players, after they get that hatch, will, depending on how comfortable they are, will get a drone or two more. And then finally throw down that pool, as we see Bubbles finally seeing the Overlord coming in, but still scouting that western position. Very interesting, and getting down a second gateway at the same time as the Cybernetics Core. So with this timing of the second gateway, we often see a lot of pressure. Instead of getting that first Zealot and the Cybernetics Core, you'll just get a second gateway, and we see this a lot when players want to get out some early pressure against the Zerg opponent. Finally scouting up into Catz's base, and let me tell you, Catz's yellow Zerg makes me a lot more comfortable. Used to seeing him as yellow in these custom games. The last game he was red, perhaps a little bit unlucky for him, but we will see red versus blue this time, and Bubbles looks like he is going to be chrono boosting out two Stalkers. They are rallied right into the base of Catz, so we will have a lot of early pressure coming from those Stalkers. Off the creep, very difficult to deal with those Stalkers. They move quite quickly, and they are faster than Zerglings before speed. They're faster than Roaches especially. Catz getting up that early speed though, pulled workers off of gas, so he may be able to deal with these Stalkers as they come out, if he can get a number of Lings up. See expert positioning here by Catz just on the very edge of this cliff. He's going to be able to see the natural and any sort of movement of the troops of Bubbles as he does move out here. And the Zerglings of Catz going to try to take this watchtower, seeing these Stalkers pushing across the field here. And this is one of the problems in this matchup, is these Stalkers so powerful in the early going, taking a few pot shots at those Zerglings, but now Bubbles knows that he wants to try to get in and do a little bit of economic damage. Could perhaps take on a Queen as well, but in fact now just pulling back. So very interesting on his part. Looks like he has a few Zealots on the way and a Twilight Council, so maybe going for an early Blink here, but I'm not really sure why he's creating Zealots if he's going for Blink. Maybe going for Charge, maybe a +1 against those Zerglings. Not really sure at this point. So Catz does have this natural up and running. Again, we see him not doing any sort of transfer over to this natural until he knows it's safe. So we'll see once he gets these Zerglings into position, gets a little bit of information on his opponent, whether he does some sort of transfer over to that natural. You want to do a transfer at some point so that you make this the second base early on worth it, but you don't want to transfer too early, as we see maybe doing a transfer. You don't want to transfer too early because those early drones could be taken down by those Stalkers if Bubbles did choose to keep them in the base. It looks like Bubbles going for a Dark Shrine. So Catz does not know about this, and another gateway, two gateways being added, so a 4-gate with Dark Templar coming, and it looks like Catz has a Sacrificial Overlord coming to get a little bit of scouting information. So if he's able to see this Dark Shrine, he can get an Overseer into position. He has a lair coming up already, so he could have good timing on that Overseer if he's able to see this Dark Shrine. Bubbles really needs to move some Stalkers into position to take out this Overlord. At this point, it is the most important Overlord that will ever exist in this game for both players. Bubbles trying to take it down with this Stalker here. Let's check Catz's view, whether he's going to be able to see this. It looks like right now the Overlord making his way down, seeing 2 additional gates. Can click on those, but his second Stalker coming in, and he will not be able to see that Dark Shrine, so he will not be able to prepare the Overseer. It looks like he did see that Twilight Council, so perhaps going to be expecting some Blink Stalkers. So we'll see how he's going to react to that. And it looks like getting up a number of Spine Crawlers, so expecting a little bit of early pressure. And the lair about complete. And Bubbles pushing out here. He did have this pylon in position, so a Dark Templar going to be making his way into the base of Catz. If we check the income tab, a Dark Templar is actually already there, and one in the main as well. I missed those 2 as they made it in here. So 3 DTs on the field right now. 28 Harvesters to 27, and Catz having to pull off all of these drones. No more mining being done. We see income hitting 0 there, warping in an Overseer, so those DTs nowhere to be found as they did retreat back, and now Bubbles setting up a pylon, a forward pylon here. He will be able to warp in units. Catz sees this with those creep tumors, and now it looks like those Dark Templar are actually going to become Archons. So a very interesting transition here. As the Overseer, you force the Overseer and then go DTs, or then go Archons off of those DTs. Again, the Archon does 35 damage to biological units. It's got a little bit of an AoE, so it can take down tightly packed roaches, tightly packed zerglings. And if we check the army tab of both players, 1650 to 1100, and we see Bubbles does have the advantage in tech, as he does have these Archons. We see a Transfuse going down on that Spine Crawler, the 2 Spine Crawlers, another Transfuse going down, 1 Spine Crawler going down, and now this Archon going to be taking on these roaches, and you see these roaches' life going down very quickly with these Stalkers and the Archons moving into position. The Archons have a hell of a lot of shields as well, 350 shields, very difficult, a great force field going down for Bubbles, and these Archons just shutting the door on those roaches. We see the drones getting a decent surround on those Stalkers, but the drones not a lot of DPS against those armored Stalkers, and now the Archons moving into position. They can get a lot of splash damage on these drones and these roaches. Just a few roaches left. 1 Archon does go down, but so many Stalkers and Zealots, more and more coming in for Bubbles, and it looks like Catz going to be down to not much. He has all of his drones back in his main here, as his natural going to be decimated. Bubbles doing a good job now moving up into the main, applying pressure to the minerals and to the economy of Catz. And it looks like Catz down to his last few drones here, as well as a Queen. Not really sure what he's going to be able to do. A few more Zerglings come out, but taking on the wrong target in those Zealots. Zealots shred them, and Catz having to give the GG. Wow, so after that first game where Catz had that great reversal of fortunes, dropping 2 straight here to PPG Bubbles, who I've never really heard of before. I imagine most of you have not, but pretty strong play here and very creative, using those DTs, forcing the Overseer, stopping the income of Catz for just a few moments there, and then transitioning into Archons, something you hardly ever see. Archons are something that we see High Templar after they use those Psionic Storms late in the game transferred or transformed into the Archons. But remember, DTs can also be transformed into Archons, and they are quite powerful against early game Zerg, that splash damage against the biological units, so very good against Zerglings and Roaches alike, and PPG Bubbles taking this 3rd game of the series, up 2-1 in this best of 5, so just needs to win 1 more game, and Catz of Root Gaming hoping to even it up in the next one, Game 4. I'll go ahead and cast that now. Thanks for watching this one, take care.